A lot of you have probably been wondering how I've been doing over the past 48 to 72 hours. And it has nothing to do with living in Seattle, Washington, which is the epicenter in the United States of the coronavirus, a disease so serious that it's stopped the entire sporting world and is going to make me do Danny and Gallant 7 to 10 every morning, 710 ESPN Seattle, from right here in my apartment with my cat perhaps walking all over the microphone. You're probably wondering how I'm doing because my Lord, my Savior, Tom Brady, has left my beloved New England Patriots to sign with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. To be honest, I don't blame you. This is a person that has been so important to me in my life in a way that I can't really explain succinctly. I could ramble about it, and that's what I'm about to do. Some of you are probably thinking right now, Paul, I thought you were from Houston, classic bandwagon Patriots fan. Or, Paul, you cover the Seahawks. How dare you root for a team that beat them in a Super Bowl? I'm sorry for all the people out there. I can't control where I was born. I grew up in a town called Hanover, Massachusetts, which is on the South Shore of Massachusetts. I had two parents who did not like sports, and for whatever reason, I loved them. I would obsess over the Patriot Ledger, which was our local newspaper, and I would read box scores, read about the latest transactions to a point where I was probably more on top of the NFL than the average adult. I started becoming really football conscious probably in about 1996 or so, and that year happened to be the second time that the New England Patriots ever went to the Super Bowl. But yikes, they were a bad football team before that. And they had been a bad football team for a while. But in 1996, somehow, guess what? They made it to the Super Bowl. They had their coach basically quit on them right before the Super Bowl began, but they made it. And that really got me into the sport. I was obsessed with Drew Bledsoe, who was the starting quarterback, and so obsessed, my dad, I think, seeking to, I don't know, just bond with me. I'm not sure why he decided to make this happen, but he decided to split season tickets with a coworker, and we started going to games the next year. That was the first year that Pete Carroll, a guy I now interview every single Monday after Seahawks games, had first become head coach of the New England Patriots. It was a really fun year. I enjoyed every single moment of it. The Patriots did not end up going to the Super Bowl that season. I think they were 10-6. They lost in the second round of the playoffs to the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was a tough loss. I think 7-6 was the final score. But I was hooked. I was into it. And it was really one of my favorite things as a kid, going to Patriot games and watching a Patriot game every single Sunday. I was so obsessed to a point where going to church at St. Mary's Catholic Church in Hanover, I remember whenever I would get down on my knees, if it was a Sunday, I would pray for the New England Patriots to win. I don't know what the other things I prayed for were, but every single time, that was the thing that for whatever reason was the most important thing on my mind, and hoping that they would win a Super Bowl. Perhaps sacrilegious, whatever. That was just how I felt and how I was, honestly, I guess, wired. Paul, can you get to the point, you rambling son of a biscuit? Yeah, I can. I'll get there eventually. What I'm trying to do is explain to you why I love Tom Brady so much and why I appreciate his time with the New England Patriots as much as I do. So let's fast forward to 2001. We all go through hard times in our lives. And I am not going to act like what I went through as a kid who had parents who loved him, who were able to provide for him, put him in really good school, provide him with food, do all sorts of awesome things for me. I'm not going to act like my life was particularly difficult, but 2001 was a really tough year for me. We go into the summer, and I find out that my dad and my mom are splitting up. I found out, my dad told us one day, I remember just sitting in front of a television watching When Good Pets Go Bad, a marathon of that on some channel I don't even remember, for the entire rest of the day. And it really changed me. I was this naive kid that thought, honestly, that I was living in some sort of fairy tale. I remember believing every single thing that I had been told about how love was eternal and how my parents getting in a divorce was something that could only happen to other families, not to mine. I was naive. I was immature. And when that happened, it really changed me. My personality was weird. I remember going to school starting the next year, 2001. 7th grade, sitting by myself at lunch, not really socializing as much as I used to, acting very strange with this loud, bombastic personality that wasn't exactly reflecting the weird feelings that I had on the inside. And it was tough. And I still remember, and this sort of goes to show you how obsessed I was with the Patriots, but it wasn't long after a game that they had played the first week of the year, they lost to the Cincinnati Bengals, where my dad sat us down and explained to us that he had cancer. Now, he beat it, and he's been in remission with it for a really, really long time. But I don't know, for a 12-year-old who was a total idiot and also going through changes and not really understanding what all of them were, and then having changes in my own family, it was a lot. It really was. And that's why that 2001 Patriots team is so dear to my heart. Every single person who played for that team, I will love them forever. And in 2001, that was when Tom Brady took over. I was at the game. It was the first game after September 11th. Mo Lewis drills Drew Bledsoe on the sideline, and Bledsoe takes a long time to get up. And I remember being a cynical person, with my dad having told me about the cancer, 9/11 having just happened, the divorce happening over the course of the summer, thinking to myself, whatever. And I told my dad, the season's f***ing over. My dad looked at me. I'm pretty sure he reprimanded me for cussing, which did not exactly stop the rampant cusses that I would be throwing out there over the course of the remainder of my life. I try not to do it on the air at the very least. And out trots this guy wearing number 12, who I remember from college, having played for Michigan and I think winning the Orange Bowl against Alabama, and thinking, all right, he was pretty good in college, but not thinking that much of him. This was a guy who had beaten out fan favorite Michael Bishop out of Kansas State that offseason for one of the last roster spots on the Patriots. As their backup quarterback, he actually elevated up to second string over Damon Heward, who was the other backup quarterback at the time. And I remember seeing the move and not really thinking much of it, other than being mad that Michael Bishop, who was this athletic freak, was cut from the team. So when Brady first started, I didn't really think a whole lot of it. The first game that the Patriots played with Brady as starter, they beat the bricks off the Indianapolis Colts, which would be a theme. But the next week, they played the Miami Dolphins in Miami, and they got smoked, and Brady looked completely out of his element. So, again, I'm not thinking much of it. The Patriots are 1-3 at this point. The very next week, they play the San Diego Chargers. Doug Flutie was the quarterback for San Diego. I remember being at our neighbor's house, the Salvucci's, and sneaking away to the television to watch the game. And the Patriots weren't playing well. They were down 26-16, I think, with about, 8 minutes or so left in the game. And I'm thinking to myself, all right, well, hopefully they can turn this thing around. And then all of a sudden, they start moving the football. And Tom Brady is guiding the Patriots on a comeback, and he sends the game into overtime. And they get to overtime, and then Adam Vinatieri hits a game-winning field goal. And I just remember in that game, first thinking to myself, he's not bad. The season progresses, and Brady loses the next game. They play against the Denver Broncos. They fall to 2-4. He throws 4 interceptions after not having thrown an interception in the first games that he had played. And again, it looks bad. But after that, the Patriots continue to play scrappy football to a point where in a Sunday night football game against the St. Louis Rams, the greatest show on turf, a team expected to win the Super Bowl, they hung in there. I think they had a halftime lead and they ultimately lost the game, but a lot of people walked away from the game thinking, man, this Patriots team, they're a scrappy group of kids. So that game happens, and then the very next game was one of the games that I went to, and I will never forget this game. It was pouring rain at Foxborough Stadium, which was a dump. And I'm sitting there with my dad, and I remember Tom Brady just playing a brilliant game in the rain. He throws for 4 touchdown passes. And before that game, there was thought that Drew Bledsoe, who is finally healthy again, was going to step in for Tom Brady and be the Patriots quarterback for the rest of the season. He didn't. Belichick made the ballsy decision to keep Brady in there. The Patriots didn't lose again the rest of that season. They won the Super Bowl, and a lot of it had to do with Tom Brady. That whole team got me through a really difficult year because there were times where that was really the only thing that I was looking forward to in a given week. And it brought a hope and an optimism and a positivity back to me that I lost for a little bit of time. So I know a lot of people go through all sorts of different things, and that's why they become sports fans for a variety of different reasons. That's why I love the Patriots so much, and that's why I loved what Tom Brady has done so much. Tom Brady bringing joy into my life did not stop there. A lot of people looked at him and thought it was a fluke that he had helped to lead the New England Patriots to a Super Bowl title. I did not. I was all in. I even threw Bledsoe to the curb, and I still feel bad about it because I loved Drew Bledsoe as a kid, but I thought Tom Brady is the real deal. They didn't make the playoffs in 2002, which was the first year that my dad and I had full season tickets at Gillette Stadium, a brand new stadium, and it was a whole lot of fun. But after that year was done, I made another decision that was a tough one. I moved with my mom to Florida while my dad and my sister stayed up in Massachusetts to start high school. So I go into high school with no friends, and I didn't help myself out, by the way. Imagine moving to a place where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were Super Bowl champions, and you come in and say, yeah, the Patriots are better, though. The Buccaneers are a bunch of frauds. They're terrible. That's what I came in doing. I did not make myself many friends at first. I was someone who, honestly, was only looking forward to every single weekend the New England Patriots. And thanks to my mom, who had got me NFL Sunday ticket, I could watch every single Patriots game in the garage. And guess what? The Patriots would go on, after a 2-2 start, to win every single game the rest of the way, including in the playoffs and in the Super Bowl against the Carolina Panthers. And the very next year, they won another Super Bowl. So as I started to make more and more friends, I kind of got a little arrogant, thinking to myself, yeah, I know football because I'm from Massachusetts, where the New England Patriots happen to be located. I became a little bit insufferable, and honestly, we all did. I think being away from Boston made me slightly less insufferable, but I know we're all pretty annoying, especially when you get us all in mass together. But those were just the first 4 years of Brady's career. I mean, I was talking about him getting me through really tough times from 2001 through 2005, where I eventually saw in person Tom Brady cement the Patriots' first dynasty with their Super Bowl victory over the Philadelphia Eagles. Thank you very much to my stepdad, Scott, for getting us tickets to that game. It was a whole lot of fun. He's an Eagles fan. It was not as fun for him. Brady kept on being an amazing quarterback from 2005 through, honestly, last year. There were still glimpses. It wasn't pretty all of the year. And a lot of it had to do with the fact he's got young players, but some of it had to do with the fact he's a 41, 42-year-old quarterback that is starting to regress a little bit. Over that entire stretch, he gave me, a sports fan who has been spoiled with lifetime's worth of sports nirvana, 6 Super Bowl titles, an undefeated regular season, 9 Super Bowl appearances, and incredible play that has made me someone who refuses to stop watching a game until it's over. I learned the hard way in 2002 when, after a drunk person fell on me, and also I was cold. My feet were cold. My dad and I left the Patriots game. It was against the Miami Dolphins, the season finale, with New England trailing by 11 points with 2 minutes left. They came back, they tied it, they won the game. They didn't make the playoffs that year, but they finished the season with a winning record, which was a theme of the entire Tom Brady era in New England. Every single year that he started, at least one game, the Patriots had a above 500 record. Just think about how insane that is over 2 decades. That's how awesome it was to watch this guy. And I know there are a lot of people out there who don't like him. You're going to bring up Spygate. You're going to bring up Deflategate. And whatever. That's your right. But for me, I just can't thank the guy enough Because without Tom Brady, I don't know that I'm this passionate about sports. I don't know what the hell I'd be doing. And I really just don't know where I would have been during those really difficult years without Tom Brady guiding this New England Patriot team to Super Bowl after Super Bowl after Super Bowl. The tough part about all of this is that I actually agree with the decision that Bill Belichick and the Patriots made. Belichick is someone who I also love, and Belichick has always preached that the team is greater than the individual. And when you start to see the individual play less than the level that you're accustomed to seeing him play, it gets a little awkward. And that's why this whole offseason was so awkward. It's one thing to respect a guy who's been a legend for 20 years. It's another thing to try to maintain a dynasty that's lasted for 20 years. It was a really tough decision for Belichick. It was a tough decision for Kraft. I'm sure it was a tough decision for Tom Brady, too. Ultimately, a lot of people are going to keep scores as far as who wins the breakup. I'd ask anyone who is a Patriots fan or a Brady supporter, why? It obviously stinks right now, but are you really going to root against Bill Belichick and the Patriots for doing things the way that he's always done them? And are you really going to root against Tom Brady with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? I hope that they both succeed. Although, the Bucs, please, for the love of God, burn those atrocities of the uniforms that you have right now and roll out the new ones so that my boy Tommy actually looks handsome. He is too handsome for that space pirate number crap. What were we talking about? Oh, yes. Look, there are a lot of things to be thankful for and to remember when it comes to Tom Brady. It's the spike in the Snow Bowl when he scored that touchdown scrambling through the snow against the Oakland Raiders. Any of the last-minute drives that he had in Super Bowls 36 and in 38 to ultimately set Adam Vinatieri up for those game-winning field goals. The time that he juked Brian Urlacher out of his shoes. The unbelievable Brady DeMoss combination in 2007 that almost saw an undefeated 19-0 team. All the passes that he threw to Wes Welker, to Julian Edelman, to Rob Gronkowski. Rallying the Patriots from down 10 points against the Seattle Seahawks, one of the best defenses that we've seen in the last 20 years, for a fourth Super Bowl victory. Rallying the Patriots from down 28-3 against the Atlanta Falcons for his fifth Super Bowl title. The guy's a legend. He's the best quarterback that has ever played the game. He's the best quarterback that ever will play the game. And he played for the team that I grew up rooting for. And I got to witness all of this firsthand. And it got me through some extremely tough times. And I don't really know where I would be if not for Tom Brady's indirect impact on my life. I don't know that I'd be in sports broadcasting. I don't know that I would have such an obsession with football the way that I do. But I'm glad I have both of those things. And I'm glad for every single moment that that guy gave me.